Okay, so we were studying about phasors. Although I have not explicitly used this term phasor, but today I will. So up till now we have seen that time, domain, quantity, a voltage or a current, for example Vt is equal to a maximum value Vm cos of omega t plus theta volts, can be converted to a convenient complex number capital V. So this Vt converts to V, and that complex number has a magnitude of Vm. Here it is the amplitude. This is the radian frequency, and this is the phase angle. Here this is the magnitude of the complex number, and this is the angle of the complex number. So we ignored that it is sinusoidal. We ignored this frequency omega. In this conversion, we got a complex number from a sinusoidal entity, sinusoidal signal, you can say. So how was this possible? We saw that in the previous lecture. You can go back and see. So when we are given a system, a circuit, a linear circuit with an input, with a sinusoidal input to be specific, of this form, and suppose the result that we are interested in is some current. It can be current, it can be some voltage, is of this form. We saw that if this linear circuit is an RLC circuit, then in order to solve for this current, we need to solve integral differential equations, which is not very easy. However, we saw in the previous lecture that if instead of this cosine term, if we add an imaginary sine term of a similar form with this one, and then we, using Euler's identity, we call the overall input to be a complex number Vm e raised to the power j omega t, j for iota, e raised to the power j theta, then we can write this. If the input is a complex number, complex quantity, the output would be a complex quantity like this as well. We used linearity, we used superposition, and we ultimately were able to convert this starting from this. We were able to get to this using mathematics. And then here we saw that the application of this complex quantity converted that integral differential equation into an algebraic equation, and throughout that algebraic equation this term could be eliminated. Why? Because it occurred on the left hand side, and in each term it occurred. So we took common on each side from each term and then cancelled them. What we are left with is an RLC circuit equivalent with the input a purely complex number in polar form, and the output a complex number in polar form. We can write this as Vm angle theta, and this as Im angle phi. You should have revised your complex number concepts. That's very important because we are going to deal with the algebraic equations that have complex coefficients. So multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, conjugate, all this should be super clear to you, as well as how a complex number can be, if written in rectangular form, can be converted to a polar form, and from polar form to rectangular form. Usually we need the representation to be in in polar form. So if the time domain quantities are sinusoidal quantities, we can convert them to complex numbers in polar form very easily by inspection. Look at this. We have a sinusoidal quantity in time domain, and just by inspection we are able to convert it to a complex number in polar form. This thing, in fact, is what is known as a phasor transform. This process of conversion is known as phasor transform, and this term is known as a phasor. Perhaps the word phasor is derived from this phase angle, and the importance of phase angle in understanding these sinusoidal behaviors, that this term phasor is being used. So this equivalent of a sinusoid is a phasor, and the conversion is a phasor transform. Similarly, if we have this a quantity, a phasor quantity as a complex number in polar form, by inspection we can convert it back to this form. So somewhere in the start we lose this cos omega t, but we get it back in the result after solution in the phasor world. So this is what we usually do. We get a circuit in time domain. A problem is posed to us in time domain. We live in the time domain. We convert it to the frequency domain. This is what it is called, and not the phasor domain. By using the phasor transform, we convert everything from the time domain to the corresponding quantity in the frequency domain, or so the sinusoids are converted to the corresponding phasors, and in the frequency domain is where we solve the circuit using algebra, where the coefficients are complex numbers. Once we get the result or the answer, the result will be a phasor quantity, a current or a voltage, and then using the reverse process of the phasor transform or the inverse phasor transform, we can say we get the result back in the time domain. This is the process we are going to follow. And what do we have in a circuit in time domain? So we will be having sinusoidal voltage sources. They can be independent voltage sources and independent current sources, or dependent voltage sources and dependent current sources. So the dependent sources would be sinusoidal too, because the quantity on which they will be depending would be sinusoidal quantities. And then we will have a resistor, an inductor, or a capacitor in the time domain. Now what is going to happen to an R? What is going to happen to an L, to a C? We already know that because I told you the result straight away, just to make you start working with the complex numbers. But what actually happens, let us look at why did we apply that magic that we already studied about. So on this voltage source depends on this voltage, and a multiplying factor K multiplies with it, and so on. So suppose we have a pure resistor R and a voltage across it is sinusoidal and the current through it is what we require. So we know that the voltage across it is sinusoidal and it is Vm cos of omega t plus theta. And by Ohm's law, we know that IT would be equal to Vt over R. That is Vm cos of omega t plus theta over R. Or in other words, Vm over R and cos of omega t plus theta. This is in the time domain. It's very easy because there is no integral differential equation involved. It is simple algebra and we are able to find what IT is. However, suppose this circuit is to be transformed in the frequency domain, then what we do, this IT will become capital I, the R will remain R, and this Vt becomes capital V. So in this phasor domain, the frequency domain, capital V, okay, just to distinguish, let us put a bar over here to signify that these are phasor quantities. In the book, we have this notation that the phasor quantities are written in bold, but since it's not easy to write in bold by us, so we are going to use this bar. So in the frequency domain, the phasor voltage and the phasor current related to a resistor are still related to each other by Ohm's law. Okay, why is this possible? We can do all that analysis here as well and see that if the voltage is a complex voltage, it is Vm e raised power j omega t e raised power j theta, and then the current through that R would be a complex current Im e raised power j omega t e raised power j phi, and we see that this will get cancelled, and what we will be left with, if we use the polar notation, Im angle phi is equal to Vm angle theta over R. This is exactly the same thing that we are trying to say, that the phasor current would be equal to phasor voltage over R for a resistor. Right. What about the case of an inductor? So suppose instead of a resistor, now we have an inductor with a voltage Vt across it and the current It through it, and its inductor L, and we know that the voltage across the inductor is equal to L dit by dt. So if this, let us here for a moment assume that we know what It is. So It is equal to Im cos of omega t plus, that just reminds me, so before I continue with this, we need to come back and see an important point here that I did not emphasize, and that is, because this is a real quantity R, whatever is the phase angle of voltage, this R does not change it. So the phase angle of the current remains the same. So basically, if we start solving from here, step by step, we are going to get Vm over R with e raised power j theta. So you can see that Im e raised power j phi, very clearly we see that phi is equal to theta. Then this phi is equal to theta. Why? Because this is a complex number on the left hand side, a complex number on the right hand side. Two complex numbers can only be equal when their magnitudes are equal. So Im is equal to Vm over R, and when their phase angles are equal. So this is important. In a resistor, the current and voltage are in phase. This is important result, so I have written it. In a resistor, the voltage and current are in phase. So if this is the voltage across a resistor, and on a different scale, the current through the resistor would be exactly synced with the voltage. So if suppose this is I, this will be V, and if you see such sinusoids drawn, you can very easily tell that this voltage, this current must belong to a resistance, or a resistive circuit, or a circuit that ultimately can be seen as a equivalent to a resistive network. We will come to that later on. So this was an important point to make. Let us get back and see how things are going to be for this inductor. So suppose here the inductor current is known to us. Say it is, okay, so it is phi. This current is known, and as we have developed this concept of using complex sources, and it makes things a little easy, although we can do this for this easy single element circuit as well, even if we remain with these sinusoids or trigonometric identities, we can do that very easily as well. So what do you think would Vt be? So Vt would be equal to L multiplied by Im, and then derivative of this thing. So what that would be omega minus sine and sine omega t plus phi. So this is what we are going to get. Right, but since we need to understand how would the behavior be in the phasor world, so this such a behavior in the phasor world is what we require, that if what happens to the inductor as it goes to the frequency domain, and this voltage becomes a phasor voltage, this current becomes a phasor current, what happens to the inductance is to be seen, and how can this V and I be related in the frequency domain when V and I are phasors. So it's not clear from here. So instead, let us go to that complex number thing. So we have already found this out, that if the input can be written as a complex number Ej omega t Ej phi, then the voltage would be L Im. Ej phi would come out as is. Why? Because the derivative is going to be with respect to t, and here we are going to get j omega and then e raised power j omega t. So this, if this is the current, this will be the voltage across the inductor. Now identify the part here that belongs to the current. So what do we get? Vt is equal to, okay, so let us not call this It, although there is t in here, but it is a complex source. Okay, leave it as it, but we know this is a complex source. So Vt would be j omega L, or the terms which do not belong to that current, and then the current term. So Im e raised power j omega t e raised power j phi. So this is the phasor, this is the current term, this is something that we are going to name it soon, and this is the voltage. So the voltage across an inductor with a complex source at the input, when the current is a complex current, the voltage, the complex voltage will be this thing. So if you can see, this complex current is being multiplied by this thing. Isn't it something like this? The current is being multiplied by R to get the voltage. So the current term is being multiplied by this thing to get the voltage. So if we apply the phasor transform, this Vt will be capital V, this will remain j omega L, and this will become the phasor current I. So this is how an inductor behaves in the frequency domain. So look what has happened to the inductor. Instead of a derivative relationship or a integrative relationship, we have an algebraic relationship, just like a resistance. So here V is equal to Ri. Here it is still something like V is equal to Ri. But calling this R, whereas this is an imaginary term, is not good. So we name it something different, and that different thing is known as reactance. And this is the capacitive reactance. So we can often have a subscript of inductance to specify that this is an inductive reactance XL, and that is equal to J iota omega L, and the units are ohms. This is what an inductor becomes in the frequency domain. And I hope that while I am not doing this, you should be able to do the same for a resistance, for a capacitance. So if there is a capacitance C in time domain, and in time domain we know that I t would be equal to C dV by dt, and here mathematics is not concerned from where the functions come. So if here we had V is equal to L di by dt, and here I is equal to C dV by dt, that then we don't need to go through all this derivation again. We can very easily write this result here as well, that the phasor current is equal to j omega c and V phasor current, phasor voltage. This is what a capacitance becomes in the frequency domain, and here V is equal to something I. We need to write it like this, and that something is going to be 1 over j omega c. This thing, the let me write it here. This 1 over j omega c is what is known as capacitive reactance, and its units are in ohm. So an inductor L becomes j omega L, and a capacitor C with capacitance C becomes 1 over j omega c, and this can also be written as minus iota over omega c as well. Now you can go back and see, recheck all the questions that you have done by following the previous lectures, and you can see that we have understood how each circuit element is going to be changed to the equivalent circuit element in the frequency domain. Let me give you a few examples as part of the same video instead of changing the lecture or recording another lecture. This is still lecture 4.1. So let us look at some circuit again. I hope you have followed what we have done till now, and just to emphasize that how powerful is this technique of phasors in solving sinusoidal circuits for steady state conditions. Let us look at this circuit. So now we have a circuit with much more complication as compared to the circuits that we have seen till now. Let us assume this is V1t and this is I1t, the sources, or let us say this is Vs for source, S for source, this is IST, and the question says, okay, find the voltage across this inductor VLT. So this is the question posed to us, where it is additionally given that the source voltage is a sinusoidal voltage source, and say it is 10 cos of 100 t volts, and say the current source is also a sinusoid, 2 cos of 100. The frequency needs to be the same because all the circuit has to be operating at the same frequency, say t plus 45 degrees amperes. So the question is, what will VLT be? This is how a typical circuit will be presented to us. Now, using the existing circuit solution techniques, we cannot solve this circuit. This is not a simple RL circuit or an RC circuit. You can see there are several sources involved. Although, if these would have been DC sources, we could have solved, we could have found out the Thevenin equivalent with respect to this L of this circuit to get an Thevenin equivalent circuit with a Thevenin equivalent resistance, and here we would have that inductor of 2 henries, and we could have obtained a single voltage source, sinusoidal, this would be sinusoidal voltage source, and a single value of resistance here, and then we could have, had these been a DC voltage source and the DC current source, then we would get a DC voltage source here with a resistance, and then we would have obtained that normal RL circuit, and we can apply its concepts. But in the case of having sinusoidal sources, we cannot apply over understanding of how RL circuits would be solved. Although we can do that, but it will take more effort, and we want to learn phasors. So I can actually complicate this further, a bit further, so that we cannot solve it using our existing techniques. However, let us stick with something simple so that we learn something. So although this can be done, it can be done here using phasors as well, but we will do this later on. In fact, you will do this when I solve this here in my way, without finding this Thevenin equivalent. When you are going to solve this, would first find the Thevenin equivalent, then solve it again to see that this VLT must be equal to this VLT. And before solving this circuit, let me tell you that the concept of phasor applies to everything that we have studied in LCA. So for example, just like we have relationships between V and I for R, V and I for L, and V and I for capacitance case. Similarly, all the laws, the Kirchhoff's voltage law, the Kirchhoff's current law, etc., can be similarly applied in the frequency domain as well. And why it is so? It is because okay, we will discuss that a little later. Why it is so? It is because you can apply the same methodology on that as well. But let us take that for granted for now and try to solve this. So, knowing that the first step to do for a question given to us or a problem given to us in time domain is to convert it to a domain where we know how to solve things. And the question is, we need to find this VLT and in fact this steady state expression for it. This is very important. Phasors is only used to find the sinusoidal steady state results. This is important. So when the question is given in time domain, the first thing that we need to do is to transform everything to frequency domain and look at each small step that I would be doing here and note that and do not miss any of that. So redraw the circuit again. Now instead of drawing the voltage source as a sinusoidal voltage source, we will just draw it as a DC source with a capital VS. There should be no T here. Remember, this is not time domain. Then this resistance remains the resistance in frequency domain. Why? Because if in time domain this IT was equal to VT over R, then in the phasor domain this is true as well. Okay, phasor current is equal to V over R. So this relationship does not change. R remains R. However, it is not true for an L. While we have an L here that relates the time domain current with time domain voltage, we have j omega L with phasor domain current and phasor domain voltage, and similarly for the case of a capacitance. So a resistance remain a resistance in ohms. The current source becomes a DC source as well, with the capital letter to denote the phasor, and let us put this bar to denote that it is a phasor quantity, and this remains 5 ohm, and this inductor is going to become actually a reactance. So let us put a box to show that this is not the same inductor but an inductive reactance, and this is going to become, so what is XL equal to? It is equal to iota omega L, j omega L in ohms. So what do we get here? This XL, L is 2 Henry, omega from this question can be seen to be 100. So we are going to get iota into 100 into 2, and just realizing that this would be a big value as compared to these values, let me change these values to be say 400 and 500 ohms. This is important because otherwise this would be this would sweep these values out and you would not understand the implications. So here the inductive reactance is in ohms now. So this has been converted. So what were we to find? We were to find this VLT. The result will also become capital VL. Now it is the phasor VL that we are interested in finding. This is a transformation to the frequency domain. We have not done any analysis or solution, but we have just transformed it to the frequency domain. The second step is solution. Now we solve this circuit just like it is a DC circuit, except that we are going to get equations with complex coefficients. So how you are going to solve this? So suppose if I am posed with this problem and I need to find this VL, I may choose to use the mesh current analysis or the NVA, whatever the case is, we can solve it. So let us choose MCA to solve it. Now in MCA, this is a phasor current I1. Although writing this bar again and again is not easy, but I am writing it till it is easier to do. So let this mesh current be I1, this mesh current be I2. Then we can very easily write a super mesh equation and write minus Vs bar plus 400 I1 bar plus 500 I2 bar plus VL. But let us bring this VL little later. This I2 is flowing in here and this is going to be, and this is XL. So this is just like resistance, J 200 ohm resistance, J200 ohm resistance, I2 bar is equal to 0. Now this is an equation where I1 and I2 are two unknown quantities, the mesh currents, and we know what is this Vs bar is. So let us complete this as well. So VST was this thing. So by inspection we can convert this to the phasor quantity, and that would be this amplitude here, and the phase angle 100t plus something, that is here. And similarly this IS is known to us,